Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Laurel Park. Today at the races, I'm Keith Fustel looking at a great card ahead of us this afternoon. Dan Illman from the Daily Racing Forum is here with me with his insight. He's going to bring it like he does every time he's here. Dan, good to have you.
Great to be here. Great afternoon of racing. 5 stakes, $550,000 in purses, I believe, 3 on the lawn, and of course we've got the Tessio, a win, and you're in for the Preakness.
Yeah, I gotta love it. Let's take a look at that lineup of the stakes that we have today. 550,000 in total purses. There you go, the Weber City Miss, the Tessio, the Henry S. Clark, the Dahlia, and the King T. Leatherberry. The King will be here today on hand. 91. We missed his birthday a few weeks ago, so happy belated birthday to King T. Leatherberry. Let's take a look outside and see what the conditions we're dealing with. We had a little bit of rain in the area. I don't think that had affected the turf course really much at all. Main track, fast, turf course, firm. Our first post, 1225, comfortable out there, hedging towards 60 degrees. We might see the sun a little bit later. We're going to kick things off in race 1 today with the early pick 5. You got to love that 12% takeout, 50-cent minimum for the early and late pick 5s. Gets us started, 7/8 of a mile. Fillies and mares, 2 in life, 30 down to 24,000. A couple scratches in here, the 1, the 2, and the 7. We liked I Can Do It. I'm going to look for that one another day, maybe over there at Pimlico. But yeah, let's take a look at this first race. Dan, you're leaning 4-horse, a little bit of a price with Maddie 10.
Biggest price short field, I guess. We had to scramble, as you mentioned, after the scratches, and I kind of just started looking over Maddie 10's form ever since this one was claimed away from Brittany Russell into the Jose Corrales barn. And the last 2 races paired up by her tops, which for me, a lightly raced horse that does that, it often leads to further improvement. This horse did get a very nice trip last time out, going a 1-turn mile, pushed a slow pace as the favorite against weaker maidens, and then was able to hold on. But she also ran well 2 starts back when sprinting from off the pace, and I think those are the tactics she's going to adopt. I have enough questions about the favorites in here, the 5 and the 6. Layoff for the 5, distance for the 6, that I'm willing to take a small shot with the 4 Maddie 10.
I agree with you there, definitely. You've got a little angle first tag for this 5-horse Lasix going on. Could be the speed, be sent out of there with Sheldon Russell solving progress, that kind of gaudy 65 buyer staring right at you 2 races back. I think she will be the favorite. She's 3 to 5 very earlier. I'll take a shot with a 3, feeling so lucky. I thought she was against the grain of the racetrack the last time. Can be forward, stalk, and move into it. Reunited with Martina Rojas. 4, 3, 5, 6 for Dan in the opener. Turning to race 2. Second half of that early daily double. We hit the turf course. Turf course looked great yesterday. Great to be back on this lawn. I've got an early pick 4 ticket. $20, not too bad. I didn't really have anybody I loved here in race 2. Hence I spread 3, 4, 5, 8, 9. Another spread in race number 3 with the 1, 2, 4, and 7. Big effort from the 4, adding sliding TNT last time against that grain of the racetrack. 2 deep in the 4th. Ness and Ness. You usually can trust in him, especially these days. I'm going to end it with a single. Safine in race 5. If you want to make it 40, do so. Add the 5 Jubilee Bridge. There's your early pick 4 for me, $20. Race 2, couple scratches. The 6, Lily Simone. The 11, Visby. 5.5 on the lawn. These are fillies and mares. 8 other than. It's a first level allowance. Golden Heart, we're on the same 2. You give a slight edge to the 8 in here.
Yeah, Golden Heart went off in her seasonal debut last year off a 223-day layoff, so she runs well fresh, and I'm expecting her to run well fresh again. And she really turned the corner once Gary Cap switched her to the lawn. Her last race I thought was very, very good, the Maryland Million Ladies, where she chased the winner's slow pace throughout and then flattened out at a distance 1 1/8 that is likely just a little bit too far for her. I'm expecting her to come back strong in this race and see her kick in the stretch.
Gary Cap off a break. You always got to love that.
Got a number, 7 for 17. 41%, 682 ROI off these kind of numbers, 6 months to 1 year layoffs.
That is awfully strong. Caroline Christina, she started her season with a bang last year, the career out to the front and got it done. on Preakness weekend at almost 7-1. She's very quick. She gets into a new barn now.
Yeah, she was wired 2 starts back, but I think she needs to use her speed, and I think she is the speed of this race with an alert break. You mentioned the new barn. They're 5 for their last 14 since April the 5th, so hot barn, speed, and a lightly raced filly that's shown some talent.
Okay, I lean a little bit with Caroline Christine. I just think that barn right now is tough to beat. Respect Gary Gap. Little price in here for you, I believe, with payout ratio. Interesting claim out of the Chad Brown barn here for Ramon Martin.
This horse freaked out last time out when dropped into a tag and won by open lengths. Of course, that race was going 2 turns for the Brown barn. Now goes to Martin and is returning off of a lengthy layoff. Please note that Michael Sanchez had his choice of 2 in this race. He decided to go with the 4 Wise and Elegant, who seems in better form, but payout ratio is still lightly raced enough at a price that I could use underneath.
I tossed into 3 a little bit too. Mischievous Doll for Motion. I don't think that last race was as bad as what it looks. She was kind of making some progress before that break. 8th place finisher out of that race came back to just miss in a good allowance at Woodbine. So I kind of like that horse a little bit of a price. If things really heat up, she might make a run into it. 8, 9, 10, 5, 9, 8, 3, 4 for me. I think the Sabelli horse will get a good trip and does have recency. Turning to race 3. Race 3 here, we've got a starter allowance, optional horse. Let's go to the video first for the top, well, not your top selection, but a horse we both really respect in here, and that's the 1, Big Rowdy Dan.
You saw that Big Rowdy Dan tried to angle to the outside and upper stretch, and it just wasn't there. So Gina Vello had to go to plan B, which was to try to split horses. And the idea is to split the 4 and the 5. Well, that doesn't work. So now he's got to alter all the way down to the inside, and that forced Big Rowdy Dan to change to his left lead. He is still rallying very nicely along the inside in that race, and the pace was fast. That race might have helped closers, but he obviously had trouble that affected his finish. Note he was listed as a Laurel vet scratch on April 7th.
I was crying through the stretch with that one at that price at close to 7-1. Your top selection, the 7 Acre. I liked this one last time. I thought had a great setup. Just ran out of ground.
I liked him last time as well, and he got to the outside, which I thought was the best part of the track that day, and was running on 5.5, just a little bit too short for him. A couple strides after the wire, he's in front. Here's the issue with Acor. He is a 1-run closing sprinter. There doesn't appear to be a ton of speed in this race. If he doesn't get the setup, it could be a similar situation as last time, close but no cigar. But I do think you have to respect this horse's kick. Heads or tails, the 3 for me is kind of the more tactical horse where he can sit, stalk, and pounce.
Yeah, Weston Hamilton back, picks up a mount later today in the stake with Malinois. But I thought that horse got a great trip last time to run. It looks like the speed to me could be this Island Delight, a little bit fresh, and Addie's Laddie TNT. We talked about Addie's Laddie TNT. You've got Taralba today. That was a good effort last time.
I thought so because I thought he was on a dead rail all the way around the track, while Acor was able to swing widest into the stretch. And Addie's Laddie TNT in the past has shown speed. Maybe he's the one that goes to the front and tries to carve out the fractions. Again, a good performance against the grain of the track with competitive figures.
Held pretty good form here for Henry Walters. There you go, 7-1-3-5 for Dan in the 3rd. Let's head on out to the 4th race, middle pick 4. So don't forget about that. We've got the middle pick 4 races 4 through 7. Mile and an 1/8 here. These are 3-year-olds, 40 down to 32. A few scratches. Take out the 1 Mr. Agent, the 4 Buck and Dreamer, the 6 Eddie Felson. Nest loaded here. You want to go stat for your top pick here, Magical Monarch?
Why not? Magical Monarch, last out winners up 50% in claiming price, 14 for the last 33. Most importantly, a positive ROI and a good one, $2.53 ROI. Magical Monarch, ever since being claimed and stretched out to a distance of ground, has really shown just a different level of ability for Ness. Now, he did get an easy lead over what I thought was a speed-favoring track last time out, but I like the fact that since that last race, he's come back, he's worked a bull at 5 furlongs. That allays fears of a bounce. This horse should show speed in this race.
Gets a little assist, right, with the 1 out and the 4 out. So I would assume J-Rod's instructions are going to go ahead and just sit and rate off the stablemate, and maybe you guys take it to the wire. 7-3-5-2 Derby. This has just been on a roll here.
beat 3 of these last time out, and I thought maybe he raced on the better outside paths last time out, but it was a strong victory. And ever since this horse returned and for his 2024 season, he is a different horse. Now, maybe this pace scenario works against him because of the scratches, but you know he's going to be running late.
Yeah, Brittany Russell's done well with her second routers, too, with Regia. We use this one into the mix. Was down inside the worst part of the racetrack for a lengthy period of time. Out of that race with dirtiness.
Personally, I think this horse has the most upside of any in the field. He was in the pocket on the deeper inside footing, split horses, and then was just going up and down late. I really think 2 turns is what he likes. He is a very big horse. He has the pedigree, the body type, and the running style, that grinding style to excel going longer. He's very interesting, Rocky, if he gets let go at a decent price.
He ran really big. It was at the time before he was weaving through traffic. He wasn't doing anything around the turn. All of a sudden, the light bulb kicked on. Had all that adversity the last 3/16 of a mile, but kept on well through the gallop out. And he showed last time he can handle the route of ground. Let's get to our stakes action, starting here in race number 5 with the Dahlia. Fillies and mares, 3-year-olds and upward. Scratch the 6, Nisi Marie. Scratch the 7, Ravella. Dan, 5 towns. Talk to me here at a good price or the 6-1 morning line.
I think this race is going to come down to pace, and I think your top pick looks like the main speed, that being the number 8 Safin. But what I like about 5 towns is that, at least in his most recent start over the synthetic surface, she showed tactical speed. She has won on turf overseas. It looks like she might be cycling back to her best in her 3rd start of the form cycle. And I just think with the recency advantage she might have over some of these horses coming off a layoff, coupled with the tactical speed and the fact that she'll be a good price, I want to use 5 towns in here for Ruiz in Motion.
I really like the 8 now. We've got a couple of these scratches. She draws it. It's 6-horse field. Safin, a 3-year-old filly, well, I should say a 4-year-old filly, first time against the older. But I like the company she kept. I think she gets to the front, tries to walk the dog.
Let's take a look at her race in the Valley View 2 starts back. You want to talk about company she was facing. Surge Capacity won this race, came back to win the Matriarch. The runner-up, Heavenly Sunday, came back to win the Mrs. Revere. And Safin ran pretty well, considering she broke from post position 10, was hung out, was kind of in the middle of things turning into the stretch. But you see, she kind of got a little bit awkward with her lead changes and just got tired at the end. The break was by design for Eddie Keneally. The workouts, according to the crew down at Keeneland, are good. Yeah. So if she gets to the lead and they drop the anchor, she could be tough to catch. Good to see Ferg back.
Yes, and welcome back. I tell you, I like the company going back and looking. These are grade 1, grade 2 kind of horses that she was facing. I think she'll get with a good break, get a relaxed flow, and bring a finish here. And Keneally, talking about that, I got a little stat for you. He's 21%. 7 for 14 also in the money turf rounds with this kind of lengthy layoff. With an ROI, it's good, of 269. And this jockey-trainer combo has been good. And she broke her maiden, right, over this turf course. You go back as a 2-year-old, boy, she made some strides.
Ticking a lot of boxes there.
Yeah, she is clicking a lot of boxes. Rodman likes Jubilee Bridge, as do both of us. So let's talk about her.
Certainly have to respect this mare. Michael Stidham sending her up. This horse ran well off a little bit of a break, once getting an opportunity to get back to the turf. 3rd last time out in the One Dreamer. That race, she kind of saved ground. It was odd watching that race. All the other jockeys wanted to get to the outer part of the turf. Javier saved ground. Maybe it was the deeper footing. She ran quite well in that race against a good field. My one concern is her running style. I think she's more of a closing type. There isn't a lot of speed in this race. Michael Stidham told me when I talked to him earlier this week, she had a little bit of an issue, but she seems to be doing very well. That was the reason for the layoff.
All right. I do like her in here. Let's see. Anybody else we want to look about? I think we've got them all covered. The 3, have we got? Yeah, we did get the scratch of that one. Was that horse out?
Olivia Marie is out. Nisi
So
Marie is out.
I forgot to get that one. 3, 6, and 7 out of race 5. Dan, 1, 5, 8, 4. Let's look at the 6th race. Jackpot super high 5 time in race number 6. These are fillies, 3 and up, a other than going 6 furlongs. Carryover, it's a good one, $3,083 today. We've also got the jackpot, not the Rainbow Six, I should say. My bad. Carryover, $47.51, 20% takeout, 20-cent minimum. Let's take a look at Callie's ticket. There you go. She's going to start us
Single
off with
right
a
away.
single.
I like that.
All right.
Royal Seamstress is the single for Callie, 8-5 on the morning line, deservedly so, because this
Yes.
horse looked very, very good last time out. Then she's going to spread in race number 7, 5 in there. Race number 8, we got ourselves another single, Shimmering Allure. To me, that's the most logical single on the card. I think you and I may disagree on that.
Okay.
And then you go wide, 9, 10, and 11, and why not? The 9 is a wide open turf race.
Yes.
The 10 is just a Tessio, that is just a head scratcher, and then the 11, a fun field of maidens. So $45 in the Rainbow Pick 6. She gets these 2 singles home. She's in good shape.
I like how she's got my value there in the Tezia. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Yeah, $45 ticket for Callie. Good luck. Race 6, any other than, Royal Seamstress, 8-5. She's been really, really good of late for Claudio Gonzalez, but you're looking for a little bit more value in here with the 4 Sweet Shugs.
Well, I've lost enough money on Sweet Shugs. Why not a few more dollars? My concern with Sweet Shugs is you look at her record, lots of seconds, lots of thirds, and then you watch her races. There are races where she is 2 in front in the stretch, and she just doesn't finish it off. They ran her at Charlestown last time out, going 4.5. She didn't break the best from the rail that day. Worked out sort of an inside out to a 3-wide trip, and then finished second behind the favorite. I think Martina Roas is going to try to be aggressive in this race. Is she as fast as Royal Seamstress or Riley G? Let's find out. I think she'll be in the thick of things, turning for home, and she'll be a solid enough price.
I like to see these 2 just go out. Let's not duel. Let the 4 go ahead and clear. Royal Seamstress got away with a softer opening quarter last time, but she relaxed, she rated. So she got through that state-bred, state-sire allowance, first-level allowance, and did it nicely. Devil's Pays in Gold comes back to win. These 2, I think, can separate top of the stretch, but watch out if things get heated. You're talking about how sweet she is, the 7 for Trombetta.
I'm a little terrified of this horse because if you go back to watch her race over the Tapeta 2 starts back at Presque Isle Downs, she just had a terrible trip. She was shuffled on the backstretch, swung about 7 wide into the lane, and was rallying for third, beaten 3/4 of a length. She likely needed her last race, her first start of the year, and it didn't help that she got wired by a pretty good horse. She needs pace. The runner-up from that race then came back to win a first-level allowance with a 74 buyer. I think all systems are go second off the layoff, and if the pace gets unexpectedly hot, she's kicking in the stretch.
I'll toss in the 1 as a little bit of a value here. Tim Vick, she did not embarrass herself at all last time, and neither in the Conniver. She gave good effort. She's holding form here. I think you'll get a good trip with Chavez down inside. That's a look at the first 6. We're going to take a little commercial break, return for the Leatherberry, right? That kicks it off.
That's
in
right.
race 7. Yeah, and the late pick 5. We'll be right back.
Choke you, but I ain't no killer, baby. She 28, telling me I'm still a baby. I get love in Detroit like Skillet, baby. And the thing about your boy is I don't like no whips and chains, and you can't tie me down. But you can Young J-A-C-K-A-K-A.
Get your tickets now for the Preakness. Don't be late. They're going to sell like hotcakes. Jack Harlow, like I said, I got the push from the kids, and they gave it thumbs up. So I got to respect their opinion. So I think we're looking forward to a really, really good, entertaining Preakness. Race 7, we are back. Dan Ellman, Keith Fustel, the King T Leatherberry Stakes. Happy belated birthday again, King, 91 years young. And I tell you, real quick, couple scratches in here, the 4, the 8, and the 11. King, this is, I forget this stuff. He won the Tessio twice, back-to-back in 05 and 06. And we were talking about how good of a horse Ade was. Yeah. Wow.
Ade ran some really fast figures on the Buyer's scale and was surprisingly, when you look back on his form, surprisingly fast as well as consistent. He was a nice horse. The King knew what he was doing, and he still does.
Ben's Cat, I Am the Game. The list goes on and on and on. What, over 6,500 victories. You got to love it. Absolutely deserves everything. Hall of Famer here, King T Leatherberry. I believe he is going to be on hand for the presentation. That is awesome. So, who do you like?
Well, I think we have to start things off before we talk about my topic with your topic, and that's the number 5, Whitty.
All right.
We're going to take a look at Whitty. The last time he won was right here at Laurel. Maryland Million Turf Sprint. You usually don't see horses win from here.
No.
Last on the rail turning for him. I don't care if it's a second wire finish or not. Last on the rail, so many things can go wrong. Here, everything went right. Toledo found the rail, it opened up, and then it helps when you have a horse that has an explosive stretch kick like Whitty. This is good stuff.
Yeah, he's really, really good. He's topped out, as a 95 on this turf course. So really, really strong. You kind of know what you're going to get with Whitty. He's not the best of breakers. He kind of usually comes off a step or two slow. But you know what? He recovers. He settles. And I believe with all of the speed signed on in here, Toledo's just going to be able to pick his path, say, from mid-turn home.
That's a huge advantage because there is speed in this race, and it's all about whether Whitty gets the trip. Closers sometimes are at the mercy. They get stopped if they're down on the rail sometimes. It didn't happen to Whitty last time, or they have to go very, very wide. But the fact that he's getting pace as well as the long stretch helps Whitty. For me, Future is Now is just an interesting horse, the 7, and I think she's going to just drift a little bit off that morning line. I was very impressed with her first 2 turf starts. I thought maybe she would be a stakes horse in the making, and then I was a little disappointed when she couldn't get over the hump in her next couple of races. But her last 2 for Trombetta have been good, pairing up 92 Beyer speed figures. And last time out, she was beaten by a heavy favorite, Stone Silent, who was very, very good. I wonder if she's the speed of the speed under J-Rod. We'll see how far she goes. A little bit of a weight break for the filly.
Yeah, I tell you, she's going to have to be on her game.
No doubt.
There is some speed in here. Morley's horse charging, Brother Conway Fluid's situation. If he wants to get involved, he certainly can. A couple fresh horses in here for Harp. So you've got 2 horses that kind of want to be near the lead. For Harp, perfect here at Laurel.
For Harp loves it at Laurel, as you mentioned, and has also run very well fresh in the past. And Butch Reed's going to bring this horse back off of a November layoff. Now, breaking from the outside with his running style, he might either have to take back a little bit, which might not be his preferred running style, or they got a gun, and then he could be hung wide on a fast pace. So it's really up to Sheldon to work something out here. But I trust Butch when he ships into Maryland. He always seems live, and this horse loves the course.
I'm a little tough on George Weaver down here, and he hasn't had the best of luck with the dirt horses at Laurel, but he's done all right. The grass. You've got Outlaw Kid off of a break. This horse brings some very strong Beyer figures to the table. He does come off Lasix, but he's run okay sans Lasix in the past. I think he gets a good flow here. You've got Fergal Lynch to measure things up.
I think the key is when you look at the past performances, he's repeating the pattern. First start of the year, first start off the long layoff that resulted in the career best 100 Beyer speed figure at Belmont. So this horse obviously runs well fresh, and as you mentioned, could get the flow.
Yeah, and I think they might run away from him a little bit more than what he's seen in the past. I do think he can come from 4 or 5 out of it if need be with this type of rider to gauge things up front and do that rating, because he does such a good job on that. You've liked 7, 12, 5, 1. I'll let you talk about Fluid Situation.
Well, Fluid Situation, I think, is just getting back to his preferred surface. He's run well on dirt in the past, but I liked his performance 2 starts back on turf. Now, the issue with Fluid Situation is the pace, because he's kind of a run-and-gun type, and you just think that Angel Cruz is just going to be sending out of the gate. But this horse has run some solid races in the past. I really respect John Terranova. I think he's an underrated trainer.
I'm going to toss a bomb in here. 20-1 morning line. Tim Shaw, bump and run. I know that's a trainer you respect. This is a horse that's just in career form right now. And you go back. He's got 1 start on the turf. That was with blinkers. He's a different horse now. The mother was really good on the grass.
He is a different horse now, not only because he's more mature, but because he has a different running style. If you note the 1 start on turf, he was caught in an enervating speed duel.
Yes.
Really destroyed his chances. Now he can sit sort of right in behind the lead. So he's not a true deep closer that could be compromised by trip. He might work out a great trip. I can't knock a horse. It's 20-1 and in form like this.
Look for a little value there with bump and run. He's kind of a cool horse right now. He's running really, really big. I think he can chase and keep making a move into this field. 8th race. Here we go. Weber City Miss. For the 3-year-old fillies, a 1.16 miles carrying a purse of $125 guaranteed. Automatic berth to the victor here, to the black-eyed Susan at Pimlico. Scratch the 1, Band of Gold. The 5, Determined Driver. The 7, Offie's Magic.
And I think the plan is the Black-Eyed Susan for the 4, Shimmering Allure, who is one of Callie's singles in the Rainbow Six, and also our top selection. We have a video for Shimmering Allure that we'd like to share with everybody, and this is Shimmering Allure going all the way back in the Tempted at Aqueduct. And this is what she does. She doesn't have a ton of early speed, but boy, does she kick hard in the stretch, and she just runs over this field in the final eighth of a mile. Her subsequent start was in the Demoiselle, and she was hung out 4 wide every step of the way, going 1 1/8, and I thought she ran quite well to be second. Now, in the Busanda, it was a race that was real over a sloppy track. I don't think she loved it. Kenny McPeak said after that race she deserved a chance in the Ashland from what he saw as a 2-year-old. Freshened her up, ran her there, and just ran to 2 tough company. Champion, just FYI, Leslie's Rose. Those horses are going to the Kentucky Oaks.
Yeah, there's a little flow in here for her to target as well with the 2, Miss Harriet, Grammy Girl outside, and right there, Jean Marie. I don't know if she necessarily needs it, but I do think she will be forwardly placed. You had a little stat about McPeak, I think, in your write-up today, right? Talking about this type of layoff. And he's done very, very well.
6 for the last 14, 43%, $4.20 ROI. Dirt runners, second off layoffs between 2 and 4 months. And again, it's all about whether she gets the right race flow in here. If the 2 and the 8 hook up, she likely is going to be closing. Jean Marie, the number 3, though, is a horse I think we really need to talk about because she could trip out just in behind the speeds.
Went back and watched the video last time off of 2 4.5 furlong races to start her career, off a lengthy break. She didn't break super sharp in that stakes on the sloppy track up at Parks. She was hustled up. She had to duel a little bit into the first turn. She shook clear. Man, she was resolute to the wire for a barn that we hold in high regard when they come down here or anywhere. That, mind you, Robert Reed, Butchery.
You stretch out a half mile of about an 8-month layoff and do that, that's something. That horse obviously has a lot of talent, and the only filly that's ever beaten her is a fellow Butch Reed trainee, Carmelina, who we've seen win stakes races here and is very, very good. So the sky's the limit for Jean Marie. I think you could argue she has more upside than a horse like Shimmering Allure. She just has to take a slight step forward today.
Call another play. Tromby has got this filly right. She was all keyed up behind horses early last time. Once she found her way, she kicked away.
Very, very impressive. Her last 2 races just winning by open lengths. Her confidence figures to be sky high right now. And she's another horse with the tactical running style. I think she and Jean Marie are going to be in similar positions as the field hits the far turn. And now it's a question of how good is she? She's taken the big step up into the stakes ranks for the first time.
Would you say Miss Harriet is the best of the speed?
I think
how far do you think she goes?
I think Miss Harriet is the speed, and she has to take advantage of this post. Of course, 1 1/16, we start basically right on the turn, so the inside is a huge advantage. With the scratch of Band of Gold from the rail, Miss Harriet draws the rail. She is running and gunning from the inside post. I do have concerns about 1 1/16.
Okay, let's go to the 9th. The Henry Clark Stakes at 1 mile on the turf. The all-along turf course at rail setting is at 0. We have a few scratches in here. The 1 Adero, the 2 Luigi Spirit take out the 7 Heaven Street, and the 9 Hey Chief. We've got some veterans in here. Shorter field, but I tell you what, I'm not comfortable paying any one of these. This is a really, really tough race. You land on the 8 Eons.
I do. Eons is one of those, popular veterans that seems to run hard here every single year. And on paper, his numbers speak for themselves. But I did talk to Arnaud de la Cour earlier this week, and he said that Eons usually needs a race off of the layoff. And at this distance, 1 mile, it might be a little bit short for him. So you might want to tread a little bit lightly with Eons. I wonder if he's simply the best horse in this race. We do have a video spotlight on a horse named this Data Man, number 6. And this is a fella that just seemed to get good towards the end of last year. He won the Bald Eagle Derby at Laurel, and here's the Virginia Derby, and he runs 5th in this race, but you want to talk about the competition he was in against. The winner, Integration, came back and won the Hill Prince with a 98 buyer and recently placed in the Maker's Mark. And look at Datum, he's kind of in between horses there. It's not the most comfortable spot. And then the runner-up, Program Trading, came back to win the Hollywood Derby with a 94 buyer. And then the 3rd place finisher came back to win the Bryan Station at Keeneland with a 91 buyer. Data Man was competitive with these good horses. Throw out the last race on dirt, goes out for one of the great layoff trainers in the game in Graham Motion.
Yeah. I was wondering, is the mile a little too short? He's won upwards, of 1 mile was that a mile and 5:16? It was the Bald Eagle mile and 3:60. That was a big race there. So proven over this turf course. I think the now horse.
Yeah.
And let's talk about the 4, Forever Super.
Forever Super is tactical, and that could be the key to this race. Because with the scratches, I don't think there's any speed in here, and I really think Michael Sanchez has to grab the bull by the horns with Forever Super and try to make the lead. He had a very nice trip last time out against Florida Breds at Tampa Bay, sitting in the pocket, tipping out, and winning as an odds-on horse should. You're right. He is the now horse, facing some horses that are off form, others that are going off of layoffs. He's the horse to beat.
Yeah, he beats a horse in his last race, me and Mr. C. That's a horse that ran some bang-up
Rock
races.
solid.
In 2023. So highly respected. Won 4 of its last 6, has Forever Super. The last 2, Sans Lasix. That bodes well. 8, 4, 6, 3. I go 4, 5, 8. I'm going to toss in English B, the 8-year-old, third off of a break. Should lay close in here off of those 2 7.5s down at Gulfstream.
Again, he has recency and he does have that tactical speed. Now, English B is a horse that sometimes will settle for second or third, but just from a class standpoint, you must respect his back class. Kevin Gomez rode so well at Delaware, rode so well down at Tampa Bay. He has been on fire the last 6 or 7 months. He picks up the mount on English B. I think he'll have him in a good spot.
Okay, all right, let's go to the 10th. Federico Tezio, 125,000 guaranteed at a mile and an eighth. We once scratched the 6 Mission Beach. 5 horses come back out of the private turns, if I did my math correct. And this race, again, hard to really kind of love anybody. I've got a shot horse. I'll let you talk about Copper Tax, though, for Gary Capp.
Well, we're going to take a look at Copper Tax beating several of these last time out in the private terms, and as you can see, it was a very wet track. It was Mr. Torrealba's first stakes win. Congratulations. Just outside of him is your top pick, Circle B, and they're going to kind of bounce off each other just very lightly. But Copper Tax then just is strong as the race continues to progress, and he finishes it off very well. The concern is obviously this post position, which is no bargain going 2 turns at Laurel Park. This race is going to come down to trip, but Copper Tax was widely regarded last year as the best 2-year-old in the region. His last race was a nice step forward after being in tough in a couple of graded stakes races. It's all about if Torrealba can work out a trip in here, but I do really think your horse Circle P might be, Copper Tax is the horse to beat. I wonder if Circle P is the horse to bet.
Well, Circle P at 8-1 morning line is definitely going to hold value. And in that replay, we did not show you the first turn was Circle P. The horse was trying to get out a little bit. He broke well, but he ran very, very spotty throughout that race. You saw him on even terms, a little bump again around the 16th pole with Copper Tax. I think some focus and a little bit of flow here. I think he can get into position with Sheldon and maybe pounce on them top of the stretch. I think everything's going to hinge on Classic Joke if he can go with speediness.
Right, that's the key. Speediness is the speed from the rail. We'll see if he can carry his speed this mile and an eighth distance. Classic Joke is likely to try to be close. Malinois, Weston Hamilton takes them out. He's going to show a little bit of speed. But Circle P, getting blinkers might be the key. Talking to Flint Stites last year after he won the Maryland Juvenile, this horse is a very rambunctious horse. He seemed to run in spots in the private terms. Maybe the blinkers get him to focus. And I like the fact that he's cycling in to this race, third off the layoff, just gradually stretching out in distance.
Yeah, and when you look at the bottom side, it's not there. That's the crazy thing about it. But he's proven that to be just a misnomer. This horse is handling the route, and I talked about it. I think the blinkers are going to be absolutely key. I know it's not a big strike rate for this barn over the last few years, but for this particular animal, I think it should help. Inveigled, reading up, Sibeli likes the extra ground here in the Federico Tezio.
Worked out a nice trip last time out. That pace was fast, but he settled just off of the lead, made the lead turning into the stretch. I talked to Jane earlier this week, and she said she didn't think Inveigled saw Copper Tax in the stretch and maybe would have been able to fight back in battle. She has a lot of respect for Copper Tax. Not a great post for Inveigled also, but this horse is tactical enough to get position. Carolo Rapido is kind of the key to this race for Todd Pletcher. Look at this pedigree by Curlin out of Kentucky, Oaks winner, Catherine Sophia, confident spot first out of the maiden ranks, and then you got your morning line favorite, Lat Long.
Yes, Lat Long comes in here, another McPeak runner. I just tossed the last off the break, no chance, 5 to 6 wide the first turn against that group. But we talked about it. He, similar kind of horse last year to win the private terms with a grinding style with Caramanos. What do you think of Lat Long here?
I think Lat Long certainly fits from a class standpoint. I would need him to be higher than 5-2. I think he will be at post time. In the Bluegrass, he was just in simply too tough against Sierra Leone. He's going to be one of the favorites in the Kentucky Derby. I did like his race in the Lecomte because he was facing Derby contender Track Phantom and held his own. Again, this race is all going to come back to trip. Who gets the right trip? And I think that's going to be the key determining factor.
That was Haystrike, right?
Haystrike,
that
yes.
He got the job done last year. Lat Long out of that Lecomte. You talk about Track Phantom. Nash, no slouch either. 91 and 85 in the next two, winning the Hot Springs at Oaklawn Park. Anyone else maybe at a bigger number? I thought Starts with a Dream ran a sneaky move up the rail. Quarter pole you saw in that video is a mile and an eighth, maybe just a touch too far for him.
No, I think the mile and an eighth is going to be fine for him. It'll just be a sort of a situation of it is a little bit too much too soon. But as a fourth-time starter, you can project improvement. I think Celtic Contender, the number 2, is going to work out a very good trip. Loved the way he won 2 starts back. And then last time out, just didn't get away from the gate the best. I think Celtic Contender is probably going to work out a decent tracking trip in behind speediness.
Yeah, Hammy with the faith right back with Celtic Contender. So let's go to the nightcap. Race 11, Dahlia course, 1 mile, maiden special weight, 3, 4, and 5-year-olds. We do have some scratches in here, unfortunately. 3, 5, 7, 8, 10, 13, 14. Dan, you land on the 2, come rain or shine. We've got a stat for this Trombetta runner.
Michael Trombetta, 7 for the last 28, moving dirt to turf, a $3.69 return on investment. So this trainer does well with the surface switch, and come rain or shine is bred for turf. This is a 3-quarter brother to No Mo Lady, who's graded stakes placed on the turf. The dam won 3 times on the grass. The second dam was stakes placed in France. Good post position, good tactical speed, and I'm expecting a good performance for come rain or shine, who ran really well, I thought, in his first 2 starts, and then had the misfortune to take on the aforementioned Celtic Contender last time out.
I like the 6 a little bit in here. Not going to be a big price at all right here, right now for Michael Stidham with Ben Curtis. We saw him with a win yesterday, prize debate, a really good right inside out for Kelly Rubley. He's going to be a mainstay, it looks like, in the Mid-Atlantic. He's going to be set up with some good mounts, it looks like, traveling a little bit between these racetracks. But this horse ran okay last time out at the fairgrounds. Some horses came out of there to run well. I've got like a little 586 ROI with the blinkers on the past year. And he's a first-time gelding as well, reported. 25% gelding and first blinks combo together over the last year or 2. So that speaks some volumes to me for this Stidham runner. The 11, Mission North. There's our guy, Jack Fisher.
There's our guy, Jack Fisher. There's our guy, John Piasek. Check out his analysis on the racingbiz.com because he uncovered something on this horse. Mission North has run 3 times. It looks like he's coming off the laugh. Well, he really isn't. He ran basically earlier this month in a point-to-point race in Virginia. He beat horses that have already won in that mile and a quarter event. He probably was a gelding that day. He's getting Lasix for the first time. John does a very, very good job with his analysis. Check him out on the racingbiz.com. So Jack Fisher does very good work. Mission North might be a lot better than he looks on paper. And again, he won that mile and a quarter point-to-point race. Maybe this distance stretch out is what this horse wants.
I like it for us, boys. Lasix on. Absolutely. Tab the tote. We'll see what kind of action Mission and North gets. Sneaky Suspicion you've got in the mix for Susan Cooney.
Yeah, Jorge Ruiz is going to pick up the mount on the 12, Sneaking Suspicion. This is a horse that has some back numbers that would make him very, very attractive. The Susan Cooney barn heats up during turf season. We'll see if this horse needs a race, especially from the far outside post. I'm curious to see what running style they're going to adopt with him because he has run well from on the lead or from off the pace. I respect Jorge. He's one of the more underrated riders on the circuit.
I am going to toss in Hammy here. No fool and Moe. He got it done with Hunter Joe yesterday.
That's right.
This horse improved off the break. Lasix, second Lasix now, first Lasix turf out of race. Prime to Go was going to take plenty of play in here today. Unfortunately, was scratched. Made a good run here. I think this horse definitely will like the 1 mile on the turf, I should say, on this Dahlia turf course to wrap things up. Dan, let's go to the best bets and value play real quick. We got to wrap things up. Man, we could talk all day about this card. What's your best bet today?
Mostly value plays. Best bet's 5 pounds, race number 5. I like this horse's recency. I think this horse works out a good tactical trip behind the speed, and I think getting back to the turf will be okay. 6-1 on the morning line.
All right, my best bet. We're going to go to race 5 to the Dahlia Stakes. Safine. Some
Dueling
scratches
the
in
best
there.
bets.
Yeah,
Wow.
we've got some dueling best bets. But Safine, I think, to clear off Control. Love the company that she faced as a 3-year-old, stepping up now. She's going to get her first foray against the older. I think she's fine here. Fergal Lynch to nurse her up on the front end. Your value play.
Well, we'll go with Sweet Chugs and make sure you get value, at least the 6-1 on the morning line. This horse has a lot of back races that makes her competitive. I'd like to see her get to the lead and drop the anchor under Martina Rojas, who's excellent with speed horses.
All right, my value play. We go to the Tezio. Big field. I will be keying this horse top and bottom with several. Circle P. I hope I get a little contested pace up front. The blinkers going on. He just looked to me like a horse that needs some focus. I think he can get the 1 1/8 here with Sheldon Russell to tuck in and make that run. So that's your card. That's 11 races. Really, great betting card. Even with some of these scratches, I really couldn't peg down one horse. I do like the Keneally horse, but I think it's still a very, very good betting card for everybody here. Dan, I appreciate your analysis. Always, you do a great job. You talked about John Piasek. We're lucky. We're lucky to have so many people that go in depth and can bring this information to the bettors. We're here for you, and hopefully we can help you out. But let's go to Dave Rodman for some scratches and changes.
Best of luck.